Maybe.
Yeah, I'm sure there's some stories I'll end up we'll revisit.
Yeah, maybe I won't say them on camera. Though.
No, I think that's probably the safest bet. Is
yeah,
not
exactly. Not to say that on camera.
But a lot of the things that I'm learning here that you've really had to graft and fight, and it's a really demanding career to go into,
of course,
and you've actively gone into that knowing that.
Yeah.
The early mornings, the financial stress, then just the nerves and pressure to even perform.
Yeah.
Let alone, I mean, my girlfriend's in. Well, you'll know that she's working at a equestrian veterinary clinic,
yes.
and I didn't realise the amount of issues that horses can have. So then, even though that is your career and almost like your car, like how many problems you have with that on top of that.
No different to Formula One.
So the stress
of course.
must be insane. Like how's that affected you over time? Like there must be times where your mental health must struggle with that.
Now being 24 years old, like the last 7 years were hard, definitely very hard. Had some good times and bad times, but a lot of things are out of your control. You're reliant on a horse like that has its own brain to try and achieve something the whole time. So whether they pick up an injury, whether on that day they don't perform to their best, there's so many factors that end up like contributing towards whether it's success or negative. And again, making that transition when I was 16, it was my hobby. Now it's my job. I earn a living from it, and people are paying me to ride a horse. I used to do it for fun. I don't do it for fun anymore.
No,
I've got to earn a living. This is my living. So that pressure from making that massive step from hobby to job, has like massive, absolute massive. And I don't think, because you're so caught up on it at that moment in time and making that transition, you're like, oh look, I've got rides, I've got owners now, fantastic, I'm earning money, and I was really lucky. I earned good money at a young age, that you don't actually realise the stress and pressure that you're under, and you just continue, and then I just had a massive breakdown. Couldn't deal with it anymore, because I was going to competitions and I would go down the centre line and I'd have 2 horses in one class, and I'd be like, oh well, no matter how well I do, someone won't be happy because I will win on one horse and I'll be lower on the other. So what's the point? Like, I did this to compete, because I wanted to be the best competition rider. Now I don't like going down the centre line at that point in my life, whereas now I just have, being older and looking at things and learning as well, massively learning over the last 6 or 7 years. Like, you have a different outlook on it, but it was hard. It's so hard because there's so many fundamental factors to horses that you were never prepared for. I didn't know. I was learning on the job.
Yeah.
And I had different pressures, people pulling me in different directions, but I didn't know what the right direction myself was. So I just couldn't deal with that stressful pressure. And I basically just had a breakdown, pretty much.
Is there anything or anyone in the industry that can help change that? Because I feel like it's probably something that a lot of people go through, and they probably not talked about. No,
exactly. This personally is really close to me, because I felt that I had no one to look up to, or no one could understand, especially for me, is I was doing a sport, an elite sport, that I didn't feel like I particularly fitted into. And then I had my school friends that I was always trying to fit in at school. So I was constantly being torn between two, but I didn't know which direction to go in. And I didn't have anyone to speak to, because... Did
you not feel like you could speak to your friends about? Was that just because they wouldn't understand?
They wouldn't understand. Like, half of them think I race. Like, they think I'm a jockey, you know? Like, that's as far as that conversation's gone. So how can I say, I'm just not really sure where it's all headed or where it's going. Because it's a female-dominated sport, I don't really have any male role models to look up to or speak to. My trainers and people around me were all female people, which is brilliant. I was lucky for that. But at the same time, I can't think like they think or be like what they are. So it tore me in so many different directions. And I just didn't know how to deal with it. I didn't know the stress, the pressure, dealing with owners, competition career, trying to keep friends. And it just all ended badly, basically.
Is there anything that you think there's a way of handling that you can offer out as advice? Like, is there anything that the industry can do? Is there anything that you can help to suggest for listeners to do that? Potentially, if you've got a young 14, 15-year-old girl, boy, whatever, who are going through the sport, having the stress of getting up at 5, 6 every morning, 12-hour days, working, then they've got the pressure of, are they doing enough? Have they got enough money coming through to make sure these horses can live, have the best functional life? Then they've got to worry about their career. What is the stuff that you think can change for the industry that could like proactively change as of tomorrow? Like, let's just pull your finger out and just do it, or what you can offer to that?
Well, personally, I think the whole equestrian industry needs to be turned upside down, and they need to realise that the youth programs they need to prepare them for stress, pressure, and how you deal with owners, and like making a living in sport. They don't do that. So I've been on so many youth programs, no one had prepared me for anything. They just told me, oh yeah, you ride, try and be healthy, try and be fit. Great, fantastic. I knew that anyway. But you could have prepared me in some way to know how you deal with multiple owners that you're working on, riding their horses and managing your like books and everything, that how you can make a living out of your career.
Yeah.
Because for a lot of sports, like, you don't have to teach or anything to earn a living. With a professional footballer, you just play for your club and that's your salary done. Whereas I have to ride multiple horses to earn my living. There's so many different things with that. So for me personally, the industry needs to be flipped upside down. They need to actually invest in the next generation and nurture them through and manage them dealing with the stress and pressure, because you don't have anyone there for that unless you do it off your own back again. Like, you pay for a psychologist. I had sports psychologists. I've had hypnotherapy. It was great at the time, but it was too late. The problems had happened. Yeah. So for me personally, the biggest thing that I could tell anyone is no horse is too good to put up with a bad owner, because that is what I went wrong. I had good horses and bad owners.
Yeah.
And when there's one weed, it spreads. So that little bit of negativity from that one owner just broke me. Especially at a young age, when I'm 18, 19 years old, I'm dealing with grown adults and getting grief from them.
Yeah.
Because I'm not performing to my best in their opinion, or they want me to do something slightly differently. Yet I'm being paid to do my job. And my job is to prepare the horse the best.
So take it, owners is quite an interesting thing, because it's almost like you're self-employed and you do your own thing in the yard and you train these horses up, but owners own the horse.
Exactly.
One that it's difficult because I presume like almost like a pet that you generate an attachment to that animal.
But I could go home now and all the horses on my yard could have been taken by their owners if they wanted to.
So owners are quite a difficult thing to deal with.
Of course,
I mean, I've met some of the owners of the horses on your yard. They're absolutely lovely. But
and that's what I made sure is that I've had to really cut back on the owners that I have around me and make sure that there are good people around me, because if they're bad, I can't perform to the best of my ability. So why I wanted to do the sport was to have a good competition career. If I've got bad owners around me, that's not going to happen, even if they're giving me the top horses, because it affects me so negatively.
No, you got to surround yourself with the best people possible. It's a positive mindset, positive people. It's why I'm best friends with you, and we consistently every other 10 minutes.
It's all about mentality. Yeah. All about mentality. And as all it takes is a little bit of negativity. Like, I remember being up at a competition and one owner just broke me. I had 4 horses there. So not only did it ruin their horse, it ruined every single other ride I had up there, because it broke me, because I didn't know how to deal with it.
Yeah.
And then
how did they break you? Go on, can you...
I can't really go into detail. It's just more negative comments the whole time, and it's just like being so distant, not interacting, just making the whole thing really awkward for a 19-year-old kid.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Like, it's not what a 19-year-old should have to deal with.
Do they? I mean, it feels like a common occurrence. Owners some owners have that mentality. Do they not see past the fact that you're a young lad trying to make a career, or is there a level of class that's involved in that it's almost you're beneath them, and that is an exterior
I don't think so, because at the end of the day, they're coming to me because they think that I'm good to ride their horses. Yeah. But it's like anything. If they feel it should be done in a certain way, they think they're paying me, so I should do it like that. I think it's no different to anything. But at the end of the day, I'm the professional.
Yeah.
Let me do me, and you'll see the benefits. And people that have let me do me see the benefits. But it's when people start putting in, oh, you should be doing like this. Why don't you train with her? Just a recipe for disaster, really.